You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't going to be that fun. All right, everybody, welcome back to Friday's Finest. Yes, thank God it's Friday. For me, it has been a need to get to Friday because starting the first this week, I have been fighting a summer cold, congestion cough. I tried to do the manly thing and or womanly thing, however you want to call it. I don't care at this point. I tried to fight it off for 3 days by myself. Finally had to go see our quick care folks, the excellent medical professionals, and they finally got me on some medication yesterday. I'm feeling better. And enough to get back with the boys. Chip, James, going to be with us here in just a minute. We're excited about Friday's Finest Day. Lots of stuff to discover. But I'm going to take a short personal privilege since how this is my podcast. And I am going to gripe about Outlook. If I wanted a new Outlook, I would have asked for a new Outlook. If I wanted a new setup, I would have asked for a new setup. And for 6 months now, I've been saying, no, I want the old. And I've been complaining. And then I guess as of yesterday, my complaining went to naught because now I have got the new Outlook and I can't go back to the old. So I am not happy between not being feeling well and not having my Outlook as it was, where I could find stuff, delete stuff, get stuff done. I don't know. Can't they just see something good and leave it alone? No, we go and change it. Now it's got me all fired up. It's Friday's Finest. That's my rant. We'll be back right after the break. We are experiencing instability at every level. Our government lacks leadership, and Bidenomics has been a disaster. The economy is in a fragile state. Inflation has been a consistent issue. High interest rates have put significant pressure on the real estate market, and there have been major bank failures. And many analysts say a stock market correction is likely overdue. We have global conflicts in Europe and the Middle East that have potential to spread, but gold has soared to record highs even among the tensions. There are so many reasons that Americans should consider investments in gold and silver, and Legacy Precious Metals is the gold standard. I love Legacy Precious Metals because of their zero-hassle, education-first approach. They can help you roll your traditional IRA into a gold IRA or ship metals directly to your house. That's what I do. So go to www.legacypminvestments.com to download their free gold investment guide. And look, I've read it. You need to read it. There's so much valuable information in there. So, friends, now's the time to not roll the dice with your hard-earned money. Find out about the growth potential that gold and precious metals can offer you. Contact Legacy Precious Metals today and tell them that Doug Collins sent you. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels as the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Their 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. All right, Chip. That was my rant about Outlook and any other tech company that wants to go, but I am pretty well sick of it already because it's already locked me out of one of my email accounts and it says I have to go back in and fill it up. I know I'm old. I get it, but it's just like, really? But anyways.
Yeah, always got to change a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, just good Lord, they try. Look, they should ask Coca-Cola about this. You and I both remember changing Coca-Cola did not work out.
Oh, yeah.
For them.
No, it did not.
No, it was terrible. if I'd have wanted Pepsi, a bad Pepsi, I'd have ordered Pepsi to start with. So
That's right.
we get it up. Anyway, they got scared by Michael Jackson's flames in the hair, I guess what it was. But anyway. Hey, but lots and nothing ticking politically right now. I think that's a good way to put it. We did have a friend of ours, both Brian Jack, won the 3rd district down here in Georgia. Interesting enough, he actually worked for you at one point, didn't he?
He did. I was, for those of the listeners that don't know, I was Lynn Westmoreland's chief of staff from the 3rd district of Georgia, and Lynn was there for I think 12 years, 6
Right.
terms, and I was with him the first 7 years, I guess. And right in the middle, right as I was kind of leaving, Brian was an intern for the office, and needless to say, he's had a meteoric rise. He's a really good guy. He is one of these guys that just kind of does. He puts his head down and works and doesn't seek the limelight. And I think he'll represent the 3rd district of Georgia very well.
I think so as well. He's a good guy. We endorsed him. We were behind him. He was a dear friend to me, especially during the time when he was in the White House, we were working, and then later through a Senate campaign and some other stuff. He was a very good guy, very fair, and it's good to see good people win. And that was a lot of other good candidates down there. Brian just came through with a win. Also, still showed, and I think we're seeing that a little bit. Chip, the Trump endorsement is still huge in Republican primaries, especially in conservative Republican districts. Bob Good's getting a taste of that right now up in Virginia. It looks like he's probably going down up there after heading the Freedom Caucus and the basically, issues that he had, especially when he came out and endorsed Ron DeSantis, which I still that was sort of an interesting place for him, but it's turned around now to where I think it's backfired on him.
Well, and it was kind of a double whammy for Bob Good, because he was also one of the 8 people, along with Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, who voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. So not only was Donald Trump working for Bob Good's opponent, but also Kevin McCarthy was. I mean, look, I don't want to say there were, I don't know how many there were total, Doug. There were a decent amount of House members who endorsed Ron DeSantis early over Donald Trump. I think this is the only one that I'm aware of that Trump's really gotten involved in the primary. And it's almost like McCarthy called him and said, "Hey man, let's team up on this one." and it does look like it's going to work out. And I obviously it's Friday. The election was Tuesday. I still think there's a couple hundred votes that separate Bob Good and his opponent, but Good's on the wrong side of that 270 vote margin. And so, yeah, it looks like he's going down.
Yeah, it does. It was, because you had one here in Georgia, Rich McCormick here in Georgia. You had Norman up in South Carolina who went with Haley. And McCormick went with DeSantis. You had a couple more, but most of those didn't do. I think when you had that double whammy attached with the McCarthy issue as well, that just sort of sunk him even further. And it was really interesting, Chip. I think from your days up there, mine as well. I've never seen a race in which literal members were getting involved like that. And it was, and now you've seen it sometimes in the incumbent on incumbent races. Both sides have friends. They just got put in the same district for redistricting. So, you'd have that. But this was a pure challenger to a sitting member of Congress. And you had 8 to 10 to 15 members, including several from Georgia and other places, go and actually campaign for the challenger. And you had, on the opposite side, you had members going and campaigning for the member. So that's just something you don't see. We're breaking norms a lot these days in DC.
Yeah, it was very unique. And then also kind of going back to the Brian Jack race, and I had this discussion with some folks last night at dinner. I mean, that race was, I thought at least, is so impressive because if you remember, the primary was in May. And qualifying, did not end until that first week in March. Brian Jack did not get in that race until the Thursday of qualifying week, which I thought was very late, right? And I thought was going to work against him. And, and I say this, Doug, not to be critical of Brian Jack, but to actually say how impressive what he did, because, Brian Jack's network before this race began, unbelievably strong in MAGA world and Mar-a-Lago and in Washington, D.C. But his network in the 3rd District of Georgia was pretty thin. And I think he won this race, and I still don't think he's expanded his network there. And again, I don't say that to be critical. I say that to say it goes to show how important a Trump endorsement is now, because kudos to them for raising the amount of federal dollars that they raised in such a short time frame. Very impressive by Brian Jack and his fundraising team, and I think he's got time now to build out the relationships he has in the district. But I think all of his opponents at the beginning of that race, and maybe even at the end, probably had deeper networks in the district than Brian did. But it just goes to show, if you have money in a Trump endorsement, none of that matters. And I think this was, this was, to me, I thought, kind of the test race with that. And it just kind of shows how, anybody that has any doubt that this is Donald Trump's party needs to look at what happened in Georgia 3 and talk to Mike Dugan and Philip Singleton and Mike Crane and all those folks who were elected officials who ran in that district and didn't stand a chance at beating Brian Jack.
No, it was pretty amazing. And look, but Brian did something I think that is unique to, not unique, hopefully, but it has been unique to some other Georgia candidates and some other national candidates who've taken the endorsement and had some okay money, but not great, and blown it because they didn't campaign. And the one thing I did see, and I kept in touch with Brian during this campaign, was he was out on the road. He was going to see people. He was doing the county commission meetings. He was doing the behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I think, and didn't come off and portray himself as this, anything else other than who he was. And I think
he was only doing that for 2.5 months.
Exactly.
I mean, but that's all he needed to do it for. So I don't blame him. I mean, he made the right decision.
Yep. Do what you have to do, baby. Do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do. And over the compressed time frame that you have, agreed. Very, very impressive. I thought very impressive.
I got to agree on that one. Moving on real quick. Next Thursday debate here in Atlanta. I'm no reason I see it unhinging now. I think it's going to go off. I'm not sure the Biden team is now as I think the Biden team thought Trump would not take the debate, so to speak. I think this was a calculated move that at first, especially in the bad polling of May, they came out with, they said, let's do this. We think Trump will back down or he won't do it. And then we'll have that talking point and then we'll do it. And Trump agreed to it right off and basically seemed to agree to most everything else they were begging for. The Biden team was begging for. I finally, yesterday, I think it was, Donald Trump was on a podcast and basically, he was very, the most subdued part of, and the best answer I've heard him give about the debate was he was talking about how, and it was sort of funny because it played into his narrative. He said Joe Biden, just killed Paul Ryan in a debate, in which if you go back to that debate back in 2012, is pretty true. That Biden more than held his own against Paul Ryan when most people thought he wouldn't. And he said, look, he'll be a good debater. I was glad to see at least the discussion of saying, let's quit lowering the expectations here. Because, right now, most people have less than floor expectations of Joe Biden. If he shows up, stands up for 90 minutes and answers questions halfway coherently, the press is going to say he's amazing.
Yeah. And I am probably this is probably I'm 51 years old, so I'm not young. I've seen a lot of debates in my lifetime. I don't know that I've ever looked forward to watching a political debate like I will this one, Doug, because of, I guess, all the intangibles and all that's around. Have we ever had, and this is an honest question, it's not a, have we ever had a nominee of a major party that has had the mental decline that Joe Biden has had just over the last year, right? And certainly since he's gotten president. So I'm curious to see, I mean, everything that he does is on a teleprompter or it's scripted or from something else. When you get out on a debate stage for 90 minutes by yourself, and the only thing you can take to the podium is a pen and paper and with nothing on it, I'm fascinated to see how this works. I don't know. I don't know, as low as the expectations are for Joe Biden, and they are. I don't know the campaign over the totality of 90 minutes is something that he can handle from a stamina perspective. And then who knows? Who knows what Trump's going to come out as? So, I mean, and it's in Atlanta. I mean, it'll shut down the city for a day, certainly. A day and a half. And so, I normally don't really watch political debates unless I have a client or a candidate participating in them because they're generally meaningless. But I think this is a very important debate because it's the first one, right? I mean, there's probably going to be a couple more, but I think these both, assuming they debate 3 times, I mean, these are Saturday Night Live skits that can run for the remainder of the election.
Oh, my God, yeah. It is that. Look, I think the interesting thing is going to be they're giving – I mean, if you look at the press, Biden has nothing on his schedule for a week. 1 week. And he's went to Camp David. And you know me because you had to handle me. I hated debate prep. In the sense, because most people who have a grasp of the issues, and I felt I did, mine was not the issue grasp. It was because these are not debates. And I've said this on like 6 interviews in the last week. These are not debates. These are question answers. And debates are actual intercourse. Question answer is what this is. So you're planning your retort. You're planning what your answer to the question is. You're trying to do it in that 2.5 minute block and get as much punch as you can. And that's just a different style. And, you made the very good point to me one time, look, you got to make something that sticks in the first little bit because that's all they're looking for is you're looking for what sticks with a voter. I remember you and I one time in a race, I won't name the race, we came up with a couple of good things, including me holding my iPhone and playing a recording of my opponent actually saying something, and it just blew the whole debate. I mean, it was classic. It was never recovered from kind of thing.
That's right.
So anyway, some good stuff there as we go forward. But I think, look, I just have a fear. Here's my thing. I think enough coffee and B12 pumps Biden up enough to where my hope is we do like the Rocky 3. If you remember Rocky 3, Burgess Meredith, Mike again says we got to go switch to south. You got to switch from southpaw to right hand because you got to protect the eye. And something different. I would love to see Trump come in and be the boom, 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 effective. Here's what we did. This is not what happening. And, and say something in the first, maybe first or second question. I don't care if it's on oil or anything else, and say something to Joe Biden like, Joe Biden, are you ready to apologize to the American people for lying about Hunter Biden's laptop that your own Department of Justice said was actually fact? Something to throw Biden off. I think the Democrats are scared of him freezing up. That would be that's their worst fear. He freezes up like he's done more than once, like McConnell's done, and there's going to be nobody going to be around. Can you imagine him freezing up and Donald Trump going over to him and saying, I think somebody needs to come help him? It's over at that point.
Oh, I mean, look, and that's one of the reasons I'm so looking forward to watching this debate. I mean, and it's not unusual. It's not unusual when the party's nominees. What is unusual, actually, let me take a step back before I say that. I think what is unusual is that normally these debates commence after the convention. Right. After the parties have officially nominated. This is the first time that I can remember the 2 nominees of the respective major parties are going head to head in the debate format before they're officially nominated at the convention. But it's just, it's a formality, but it's not uncommon to, take some time, take a few full days and prepare, prepare for a debate and have debate prep. But like you said, Doug, he doesn't have anything on his schedule for the next week. I mean, this could be Could you imagine what the debate prep schedule looks like for Joe Biden? I mean, this might be the only debate prep in the history of politics that has nap time in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, and it has to pick it up.
You know,
well, by next Friday, we're gonna hold podcast till next Friday if we all possibly can. We're gonna do Friday's Finest. Will include a wonderful recap of this because we got it next Thursday night here in Atlanta. Want you to be a part of that. Well, we're getting ready to bring James in for the rest. Chip and I will be discussing more politics as we come in. We've got to bring James in. James, the wandering traveler, coming in from, I guess we're still in the Colorado world again.
So how are we doing this morning, fellas?
We're good. You longing for your nights of unfettered, whatever you want to call it in Rome still?
No, I've stopped thinking about Rome altogether. Though everybody is going to, it's funny because, like, remember when the second season of White Lotus came out? I don't know if you guys remember, and everyone started going to Sicily all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, the entire world just started going to Sicily. And then my cousin booked a wedding there. Well, she booked it in Umbria in Italy, and I was like, were we really going to go there? And it was as packed as I thought it would be, but we missed it by like a couple of months, maybe a month before it got like crazy busy, and every social media person, every influencer is in Italy or Sicily doing something stupid for no reason. So,
yeah. Well, I'll just tell you this, folks. If you're looking at the Italy and everywhere else, my wife, as we know, has been scheduling. She does travel, and she's had like 2 more requests this week for Italy quotes and others, and even Europe. So you're looking for
cheap, by the way, if you're curious.
No, it's not. But it's if you've not been to Europe, it's worth the trip. My Lisa, like I said, if you want to get in touch with Lisa, just go to my website, DougCollinsPodcast.com. You hit an email to me or Lisa Jordan Collins or Lisa Collins Travelmation. Just look it up on the Google and you'll find her. But Chip, that's been amazing. James, we've had people. It's one of her. I mean, people still go to the Caribbean, do cruises, and do sandals, that kind of. But she gets more requests for Europe and Alaska and everything else.
Yeah,
Alaska.
I'm hearing people are loving Alaska. My grandparents went in 1985, before I was born, and they said it was one of the best experiences of their life. And my grandfather is from Italy, so he's been all around the world. He's been all around the country, and he was like, Alaska's one of the best places. I was like, Alaska? And he's like, yeah. That's definitely on my bucket list of places to go.
Alaska is amazing. Once you get outside of it, now remember in the summer you'll have mosquitoes that are the size of sparrows. But
no, you just changed my mind. I'm not going.
No. You need to go. It's worth it. It's by far. Believe me, you're not going. I know you, James. You're not going to get out in the rough. So I'm not worried that much.
Whoa! That feels like an attack on me personally.
Oh my
I'll get
God!
out there. I'll mess around.
Yeah. I mean, he's cruising on the back porch of a B&B in Denver. Give me a freaking break.
First of all, next month I'm going to be in Butte, Montana, in the middle of nowhere. All right,
in a church,
living in a church.
Thank you.
Me to live in the woods on this trip?
I mean, it's not like you and the moose are going to be out there on the back 40.
Okay, I feel. You know what? Fine. If you guys want to take this attack on me, that's fine. Just know that I'm gonna be hiking and traveling and doing dumb stuff. So don't act like, that's my that's my roommate. My roommate, yeah, he's just making sure that we're safe.
Yeah, he's probably checking in saying Doug's right.
He's the coolest dog. First of all, his name's Luigi, all-time name for a dog. He just protects this house, which is great. That's the kind of dog you want. But wait, can I just real quick? I want to jump into all the good stuff. So you guys obviously know I'm on a road trip here in Denver. And I went to the zoo. Now, I love the zoo. I know it is an animal prison. I'm aware of that. But also, they've been there for generations. Let's just move on from that sad fact. But usually, I've been to the Bronx Zoo.
Animal prisons?
They are. I've been to the Bronx Zoo. I've been to 2 different zoos in Texas. I've been to one in Connecticut. And I think I've been to one in... I want to say Tennessee. I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, point is, I've been to a lot of zoos. This was the most depressing place I've ever been in my entire life. Every animal was sad. There was construction everywhere. When you go to the Bronx Zoo, there's this beautiful architecture and everything. This place looked like it was boarded up yesterday by you know what it looked like? It looked like the fake town in Blazing Saddles. Like that's felt like where I was yesterday. There was no room for any
of
them.
You just got us canceled right there on Blazing Saddles reference.
Yeah,
but okay,
exactly. But I'm looking at it, and like I was just at the Dallas Zoo probably like 5-6 months ago, and they have space for every like the space for elephants is like acres. There was like 4 elephants. They were all in like a box in comparison to everything else, and all I was thinking was like, how is this still? How are we allowed to do this? It was 2 hours. The rudest people I've ever seen in my life there. There were signs that were like, be quiet with this animal here, and there's just kids screaming. I'm like, get your kid out of here. The animal's confused. Anyway, it was an absolute waste of 2 hours yesterday. Every animal was sad and crying. Every time I went to one of the enclosures, it just walked inside. It knew it was coming. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention, since we try to bring up the zoo and animal things. But yeah, so it was the most depressing place ever. And when I get to San Diego, hopefully that will be changed, and I'll go to a real zoo.
Well, maybe, but yeah, but are they the construction expanding it to make it better?
I don't know. I just know that it was sad, and every construction was like, no animal here. And I'm like, I can see that because you guys are in the pit. I don't think you're in the same pit as a tiger, you dummy. But they were just like, everywhere they went, they were like, nah, you can't turn here. I'm like, okay. And they're like, nah, don't turn here. I'm like, okay. And finally, I think I did the zoo in like an hour and 45 minutes. It was awful. And I just want to condemn the Denver Zoo in this podcast. That's what I'm doing.
There you go. Well, Chip, we're just happy that James got that off his chest. You know.
Well,
sorry.
Well, I know he's. It'll be a while till he makes it to San Diego.
Yes,
but I would certainly hope, with everything that with the reputation that the San Diego Zoo has,
right?
I certainly hope that James has a more positive experience.
Yeah, just less animal prison and more like animals trying to live their best life. You know, that's kind of the vibe.
We need to start a GoFundMe page for James to send him to Africa, to Zambia, Mozambique. Let him go out there to the
Listen, if I ever end up on the safari, that'd be awesome, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Yeah. I want to believe I'm that person, but I also know I don't want to get the 1,250 shots I need to get to go to Africa, and I don't know.
I want to go to Africa, except you would go to Serengeti to take pictures. I would go to Serengeti to hunt.
And that's where we're going to fight, because what are we hunting, Doug? If I see you take out a lion, I'm coming for you.
Oh, you got all kinds of stuff.
But you are gonna when I make it to Georgia, you guys are gonna have to teach me how to hunt and possibly fish if I haven't learned by then.
Okay, we'll have to work.
I feel like fishing is more my speed, and I've never.
Well,
I went one time when I was a kid, and that was it.
Yeah, fishing won't be a problem. It'll be cold. If you're still looking at February and March, about the best we could do is some squirrel hunting or fish. But then if you stay a little bit later, we can get you into some turkey. That'd be interesting for a winning James. Wouldn't it, Chip? Put James out there.
Wait, what's the date for the turkey? Talk to me.
It's fall. It's
mid-March. We have a spring turkey season. We'll get Waddell. We could actually get Waddell to take us out.
Doug, don't hold on. If it's mid-March, I'll be there in March.
I'll have to look. Okay.
If you find the dates for the turkey hunt, I'll come. I'll look like you guys ever seen Sopranos? I'll look like Bobby Bacala in the big orange jumpsuit, getting ready to go hunting.
I think you'll probably look more like please. At least you didn't bring up you look like Vinny from My Cousin Vinny.
No, but I will go. I will 100% go. You guys are gonna have to teach me everything, but I'm all for it. We could film the whole thing and make it part of the show.
That'd be pretty cool. Let's see here. Yeah, turkey is typically, they got a little bit later this year, but it's typically about mid-March. I'll find a date on it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we find a date. If you guys find a date, I'll come in March, 100%. But we can move on.
You got to wake up early, James. You got to wake up before the turkey.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'll be up bright and early.
We can do a late afternoon. Now, if you really wanted to have some fun, we could get you up here for the fall for football, real football, and deer season.
And I'll come back. I mean, I'm gonna be, I'll be in Virginia, so I'll come back most likely.
We can put him in a blind for deer. That'd be good. Hey, we're mapping out your world there, James. That's all. We're here for you, brother. We're right there. That's what we do.
That will be the funniest thing we do is trying to teach me to hunt and sit in a blind. All right, so let's get into the real stuff today then.
Well, okay, what about the stupid not WNBA draft? We've already been through that. The NBA draft. The Atlanta Hawks finally get the first pick in a draft, Chip. I mean,
it's the worst draft in
and it's a draft in which it's like, are you kidding me? Does somebody not like us, Chip?
Oh, it's just the thinnest draft in the history of the NBA draft.
It is at least in the top 5 of the worst. Like, I'm thinking of the Victor Oladipo draft. That was pretty rough when Michael Carter-Williams was good for half a season with the Sixers. This is going to be bad.
Hey,
Listen.
The top 2 draft picks are projected from France.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. That's the way the world works. That doesn't matter. Listen, your love for American players, you're going to have to take a big step back, even though we're going to dominate the Olympics this year because we sent in the Avengers. Just be prepared because the world is caught up. Basketball is a global sport, and its best players, or right now, 4 of them are all international. So
yeah, I mean, I agree, but I mean, it's just amazing to me as much one and dones as you're seeing in college basketball and everything else that the top 2 are coming from somewhere else. But the other issue, speaking of which, the WNBA is actually caught up with the NBA in some ways. Hear me out. I watched a clip of the WNBA, and it was one of the players for the Sparks, I believe it was. She was dribbling down the court. She picked up the ball. She threw it to her other hand, walked one time. She dribbled again. She picked up the ball, threw it to the other hand, walked another time. No call, layup. They finally made it like the NBA.
The calls are over, Doug. Don't worry about traveling is dead. Traveling and carrying are dead. They will never go away. It is always going to be, they didn't do this in the 70s, but also basketball's way better than it was back then, and I'll fight you on that till I die. But the reason it's caught up is because every day is a conversation, and luckily the conversation has died down a tiny bit. But a conversation is just going to constantly be about whether or not Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark hate each other. Did you see 23 years? The first time in 23 years, or it's the largest viewing in 23 years of a WNBA game. 23 years, which is only just back in the heyday of television. So now the television.
I'm ready. Dead. I'm prepared for this, Chip. You know, we've been in politics a while, but I'm prepared for the backlash I may get from the following. And if y'all don't want to be included, I'll just say this is Doug Collin commentary at this second. I have watched some of the WNBA this year.
Uh-oh.
I have watched because, frankly, it's been thrown in my face. So I have watched some of these games. I don't know why I'm watching some of these games. I have not understood. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad they're playing. I'm glad they have an outlet. But I'm tired of this being saying, why aren't they maybe like NBA players? Now, as much as I may not like the NBA, and I think that it's rugby on a court now, basically. I mean, it is still a far better product, athletically, everything else, than what I'm seeing here. Don't give me chicken salad and out of bull crap. It ain't there. And this idea.
How do I move out of frame real quick?
There were ideas that were on parity here is stupid.
I don't think that's the case. I just think it's better than it's ever been. And there's a mainstream aspect to it now, so they have to sell it. I'm just saying that I think that the game is better than. I mean, if I've watched it because I did watch it when I saw it when I was younger, and when we were. I'm not going to pretend in high school we didn't make fun of it. We did, and everyone did. But the world has changed now, and the game that they played then versus now is unbelievably different. So that's why people care about it. Also, they care about it because now there's the unfortunate racial undertones that we could just move on from, but we won't.
Which is terrible.
Which, it stinks because you're just you're going to act like we're discrediting all the other women that have been playing for years. Just know something's new right now and we're into it. So why can't we just let that be the case? We can never just let it be. It's new, it's exciting, so we want it. That's it. That's the end of conversation.
But everything, in order for it to, everything has to be racist. It has to be.
Yeah.
Or there's really no discussion to have on it, right? Because if we're just talking about the merits of basketball, I mean, Doug's right? It's all
men's basketball is definitely better. Yeah. We're going to pretend it's not. I mean, it's been better for a million years.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so you have to have the racial undertones and look. I mean, this is one of the best players to come out of college. Certainly the best white basketball player to come out of college in a long
1979, boys.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's white. She could shoot. She went to college in Iowa. She's probably a Republican, but she's very smart.
I think people were like trying to figure that out, which stinks.
Yeah, very smart not to do it. But you could.
She's never said anything about any other player or anything like that to make you believe.
Well,
that she
but
has
the second pick in the draft this year was the girl, also
Cameron Brink.
Yeah, Cameron Brink was
she just tore ACL, which
Caucasian. And
that was. How many times do they have to show this? I don't understand how I have to see every injury on social media.
I have no desire to. That's about like Theismann. So if somebody who's had knee injuries, I can't watch it. I just cannot.
No, it was like the Sean Livingston one back in the day where his knee literally went the other way, and I just was like, why are we watching this over and over? But remember, the NFL did that thing a couple years ago where they showed it so many times that they had to the next year. They had to put a warning ahead of time. Yeah. Hey, we're going to show this. Please turn off your television.
The Nick Chubb from last September.
Oof, that was tough.
Ooh, yeah, I saw it the first time. I didn't want to see
it. That's like when we were kids. My friends used to be like, "Here are these skateboarding videos," and then it was just people just getting ruined. And I was like, "Please stop showing me this. I don't have the end."
Well, back to this discussion again, though. Here, I'm going to bring it to a different level, and this brings Friday's Finest into a little serious, but not completely serious round. My concern is not saying that we're beyond the race even theory here, Chip. It goes back to an agenda that, and again, I'm just going to dip into it. They're trying to make equality out of this, that men and women are the same. They are. And it's just not. I was watching Katie Ledecky the other day, who I admire. I think she's one of the best swimmers.
Oh, she had a 20-second.
I was watching this thing. There was nobody. I mean, she lapped a girl at a 1,500 meter. She lapped her. And
she's unbelievable.
But it was amazing. And she can put chocolate milk on her head and swim. I mean, it's amazing. But for the kicks and giggles of it, they kept saying she's the greatest swimmer ever. All this kind of stuff. Greatest swimmer ever. Nobody's ever seen a swimmer like her. Okay. I just happened when I was bored because the 1,500 meter, by the way, is a mile in this thing. And so it's a 15-minute race. So I was bored and I sat there and I happened to be feeling good. And I looked up world records, which she holds the top 15 records, top 15 times ever in this event. Top 15 is all her. And the world record, American record. So I just looked up the world record for both men's and women's. Would you like to guess the difference in time from the men's world record and her world record in the same event?
35 seconds.
Well, hold on. What's the distance?
1,500.
Oh, the 1,500 meters?
It's a mile.
35 seconds.
35? What do you think, James? Chip?
I'm gonna say 27 seconds.
A minute and a little bit more.
Wow.
1 minute. Now,
is that our boy Michael Phelps or is that somebody else?
No, it was I think it's French or somebody here. But let me put this in perspective.
It's a silly thing.
Let's put this in perspective. We were just laughing that she lapped one of the people in the race.
Yeah.
The world record time, and even a sub-world record time, because they're all under 15, would have lapped most of the field, including Katie Ledecky.
Yeah.
And so,
I think
let's not make
Doug, I'm with you though. Like the issue is pointless.
It is the issue because when you come up and you say they make a big deal. We ought to pay the women's soccer team as much as we pay the men's soccer team. No, okay, fine. If they were making the same amount, it's like saying It's like saying that every business should pay the same. Well, I'm sorry if you're businesses are not the same. You don't pay the same. I mean, Chip and I worked on political campaigns for a while. We've been able to pay some people better on other campaigns than others, but it's how much money we bring in. I mean, if I don't bring in money, I can't pay top dollar. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't think that's even the debate. I think the debate here is that like I've never heard a single female athlete come out and say that they could beat the men in any sport.
But they don't. They're being used. They don't. But you hear.
Yeah, because they're always very clear about the fact.
But you
like
hear
I think
it from
Serena
everything
Williams,
on Capitol Hill.
arguably,
You hear it on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, because Serena Williams is.
She was very
I'm sorry, I was
honest
just saying Serena Williams is arguably the greatest tennis player of all time, men and women. Like you can argue that conversation, but she's made it very clear that if Andy Roddick hit her, she would lose in straight sets.
6-0, 6-0.
Like she made that.
She would.
You know,
anyway,
she's
look,
like she's not delusional.
No, but I mean, look, I think it's a tired subject. But I'm just tired of every time you go on to the, you go to a political hearing on women in sports, or you do the other thing. It's they should be exactly equal. No, they shouldn't. Now, a CEO of a female CEO of a same company and a male CEO, if one, that's a whole different issue. That's not
the problem. I don't think anyone. Yeah, I'm with you, Doug. It's just it's silly because we keep having the same conversation over and over again.
And I think it hurts. Money comes in. I think it is one of the behind the scenes things that hurts people watching it because they hear these political arguments on the other side. Chip says it's racism. I agree with him completely on that. And that's being perpetrated by the players, by the way. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem right there. That's being perpetrated by the players. And then you have the monetary argument that's being populated by all the limousine leftists out there that are going at it. Speaking of which, though, as we move in, speaking of greatness, and you and I, we've all had this conversation before about who's great, who's not, and all this kind of stuff, and the GOAT. I think we all know that there's a lot, and we need to take a time out here for just Willie Mays. All of us, especially my generation and others, grew up. You wanted to catch like Mays. You wanted to do that basket catch. How many of us have gotten yelled at by our coach for making a basket catch like Willie Mays? I mean, because we thought it was cool. Just throw the glove out there and let it go in. Willie Mays, one of the greatest baseball players to play. I mean, great. Passed away this week. We just want to recognize that here on Friday's Finest. Willie Mays, great guy. Condolences and prayers to his family. But James did bring up a question. Who are the living baseball players that I'm going to change it a little bit, James. I'm not greatest, but just living baseball players that you enjoyed watching. And it.
All right.
So I'll start with you, James. You brought it up, so let's start with you.
Well, yeah, I brought it up, but I just wanted – the reason it was brought up was because of the interesting the ones that I loved growing up. Like I could put Jeter in there. I could put Big Papi in there, guys like that. But what I'm saying is the reason it was brought up is who is the current living greatest is because the name that kept popping up was Barry Bonds. Now, before we all freak out, that's technically the answer. Barry Bonds is technically the greatest baseball player any of us have ever watched. Maybe, as some have seen Mays, I haven't. But I watched Barry Bonds, and he dominated baseball regardless of the steroids, because even before the steroids, he had a Hall of Fame career. But regardless of the steroids, that was the greatest run I've ever seen a baseball player go on in my entire life. It was insane.
Yeah,
and then the summer that they went bananas. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying it is the answer technically.
Okay, Chip, I'll let you go before I do.
Yeah, look, it is hard to take the steroids out of the conversation,
right?
When you're talking about that, but if you're talking about living baseball players, how about Hank Aaron here in Atlanta, the home run king guy? He's still alive, right?
Is Hank Aaron? I thought Hank Aaron passed.
Hank passed.
I thought he was still alive. No.
I think Hank Aaron passed a few years ago. That's why his name wasn't brought up. Yeah, he just 20.
Right. Then it is Barry Bonds.
That's what I'm saying. See, it's a conundrum. Because it could also be Pete Rose, though. It could also be Pete Rose.
Yeah. All right. He died in 21. I'm going to throw both of you off a little bit. One is dead, one is alive. And I think that they're pitchers. I could name two alive and one dead. Okay. Bob Gibson from the 60s pitching. Bob Gibson
is better than Barry Bonds.
Oh, my God. Look at his stats. He pitched 9
Look at Barry Bonds' stats.
He pitched 9-inning games all the time. That's all he did. His strikeouts.
Yeah, but so did everyone else back then. It's kind of unfair.
It's hard to compare that. It's hard to compare a pitcher and a position.
Let's go to another pitcher. Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, but his stats also show a lot of garbage on there.
Okay.
I love Nolan Ryan, and I hate the Mets that they got rid of him.
I'm going to go to a third pitcher. Greg Maddux.
Yeah.
All right. That is okay, but you're comparing a pitcher to a position player. I think that's tough.
Let's go to hitting. Best pure hitter.
Tony Gwynn's dead, buddy.
What's his name? Oh, I had it and he just left me. He played for San Diego.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Tony Gwynn is not dead.
I'm 95% sure Tony Gwynn passed.
Look it up. Tony Gwynn is not dead.
Yeah, he died in 2014. He died in 2014.
Tony Gwynn?
Yeah. I knew I wasn't nuts.
Hey, Doug, at least Tony Gwynn just recently died. I was trying to make the argument that Hank Aaron was still alive.
No, Hank Aaron died in 2021. Hank Aaron did die in 2021. Tony Gwynn died in 2014. I knew that because I remember.
I was thinking 2024.
No, 2014. I'm telling you. Guys, the list gets shorter because of how many people have died. You're brain shuts down after a while.
Ken Griffey's got to be in that conversation.
Ken Griffey's in the conversation, but you have to include the back half of his career.
And we've left out Pete Rose. I mean, Pete, I agree with James.
Pete Rose is the one that I would put probably at number 2.
Pete Rose.
Because Pete Rose only has 4,000 hits, and he gambled after he was a manager.
Johnny Bench, one of the best catchers ever. I mean, okay, I'll go back to your hometown. Well, outside your hometown there, James. Pedro Martinez.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but again, I think you're doing position player versus pitcher. That's a tough conversation to have.
Okay, well,
because you're talking about guys who did it all.
So we're saying the greatest players in. It's like saying a quarterback.
I'm not saying they can't be pitchers. I'm just saying that
okay, that's
Barry
there
Bonds
should be
was
no
a
MVPs,
monster.
Quarterback MVPs in NFL.
Yeah, but I don't think that quarterback's usually going to be the best position.
Okay, if you have no pitching, you're not making a World Series.
If you have no hitting, you're not making a World Series. That's not the conversation we're having here.
So you got.
I'm telling you, I'm not saying they can't be.
You just proved they're equal.
All right, you're right. I'm just saying that in this conversation, I feel like when we talk about the best players of all time, pitchers get moved to the side for the all-around players. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they can't be on the list. But I would still. I'm telling you, I think it's a hard conversation. I'm going to touch one
for Chip and I. We got to go back to Big Bob Horner. Third baseman for the Braves. I love it. No, but I mean, you look. You got. I mean, so many great players. Baseball. Look, it hurts me to see where baseball is today because, again, I don't know if y'all saw this, and if I can, I'll send it to both of you. There's a video out right now it's about a 4.5 minute video that took compilations from all the great baseball movies and interchanged a little bit of real baseball. And I mean, look, I can watch football all day long. I love football. I can see good things about basketball, but there's a heartstring about baseball, I think, to most American, especially boys. Okay. That you grew up playing it, you know, for the most part. And to see this clip, and while we all were talking, I'm going to send it to you. It was just, I mean, it'll do stuff to you. I mean, it's a visceral kind of thing. People just react to baseball so much differently. And I think, and unfortunately, baseball has become out of fashion because it's just not, you know, we don't play it like we got the.
It's also not as exciting as the other sports that surround it. And
it's a slower sport.
Right. Yeah. So yes, there are times where we've all been there. It's the summer. You either have the radio on or the TV, and I know saying radio out loud is very old. But, you know, TV's on, the whole family is out, you got a barbecue, whatever going on, and there's a tied game in the 10th, and everyone's just glued to the TV. We've all been there. But it doesn't happen as often because the moment doesn't happen as often because not everybody is as into baseball as they used to be. It used to be a family event sometimes. I mean, me and my family would go to Mets games when Shea Stadium was like $12. You could sit wherever you wanted, basically. But also, think about when you hear like radio stations or TV stations or whatever, and they're talking their big sports shows. What do they say? Oh man, summer's coming. Looks like we're gonna have to find something to talk about. And baseball is on. But they have to find something to talk about because football's not around, basketball's over, hockey's over, and even hockey's a conversation before baseball sometimes.
It's hard to get the storylines out of baseball. I mean, it's,
right, and it's not been great You know, I mean, if you look at it right now, I mean, half the league is garbage. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, the most exciting things that have happened are the Yankees have been on a crazy run, the Orioles are a good team, and the Mets had Grimace help them win 7 games in a row. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's been the most exciting thing in baseball. And
if you run over the Grimace and you win games, is that it?
Yeah, it's over now. We lost. The Rangers beat us, but Grimace had a good run, 7 straight games.
Pretty impressive.
Speaking of old movies, Doug, when you're talking about baseball movies, did you see Smalls from The Sandlot was arrested?
No.
Yeah, apparently he took a kettlebell and threw it through his neighbor's front windshield and then walked over to his house with a knife in his hand, then walked away when they didn't answer, and then he said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry," and then he was booked by the police because obviously that man's a psychopath. What happens to the kids that get if I ever have children, I'm not going to let them be child actors. That future is a nightmare for them.
Oh, yeah.
What
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Literally, that guy had to say that probably out loud, like, "Hey, can you put the knife away? I don't want you to kill me, Smalls."
Yeah, it's like, probably if they just said it to the officer, you might have walked away. So, yeah. Well, did y'all see speaking of memes, one of the best memes from last week? And speaking of which, we need to discuss this. What happened to the best golfer in the world at the Open?
He just had a break. Not everybody's perfect. Nobody's Tiger Woods.
Wow. I mean, it was like, and today
it was ugly to watch, though.
It was.
Well, and it was. I mean, the putt on 18 was highlighted because of the missed putt on 16. I mean, the putt on 18 was a hard putt. Putt on 16 was not.
Right. Wait, are you talking about Rory? Or I'm talking about Scheffler right now.
Well, yeah. I
was saying
started with Scotty, and I think Scheffler. Yeah. I mean, I started with Scotty, but yeah, Rory.
Rory's was tough. That was tough to watch.
The 16 one was bad. I mean, he knew it the minute he hit it. He pumped and he hit it too hard. I mean, he just did. And then 18.
That 18 was what, 3.5 feet?
It's 4 feet. 18 was 4 feet, and 16 was 2 feet 8 inches.
Yeah.
Oh. And the putt on 16 was relatively flat. It was relatively
flat. It was hard to watch.
Did you see?
It was also hard to watch. Sorry, go ahead.
No, did y'all see his face? And because he was watching DeChambeau finish out. Did you see?
Oh yeah.
It's like
okay, good.
And I've grown to like Rory. I'm still not a gigantic Rory fan, but I mean I've grown to like. I tell you who I have grown to like though is DeChambeau.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because he's grown up. He's probably the only guy who left the PGA Tour to go to LIV who grew up after he went.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was kind of an insecure brat when he was on the PGA Tour, and now he's not, which is the opposite of what happens to most people when they go to the LIV. And so, yeah, no, look, I mean, and he's the only one from LIV whose game's gotten better since they left the PGA Tour. I mean, look what's happened to Jon Rahm's game since he left.
Terrible.
Last year.
Terrible.
Yeah, last year we were talking about him as a replacement for Tiger. I remember those words.
Yeah. Well, Rahm was Scheffler was in Rahm's shadow.
Yeah, I mean, Rahm's top the first 3 majors of this year. Jon Rahm is tied for 45, missed cut, and withdrawn.
Yeah, he's just not there. That brings up the conversation here, and I'm glad this transition. That's why I like it. It's going to be we've got a lot of stuff today. This will be our last big one. All right, here we go. Liv is because last year was the first real year of Liv after it came back to get into the majors, and they did fairly well. Okay, they were in the top 2 or 3. They had 2 or 3 golfers. We had Koepka. We had several. Phil Mickelson even at the Masters. You had them in the top of each of the majors. This year it hadn't happened, except for DeChambeau, and that's it. Everybody else is dropped. Is it now time to say, after 2 years of the not regular playing, the not 72 hole playing, that and the non? Here's what it is. I don't mind. I never for once thought that Tiger Woods played less hard because Nike paid him $100 million on the side. I never thought he didn't play less hard because he wanted to win that $1 million or whatever purse 20 years ago. I do believe now that if by watching the game, and I was hoping this wouldn't be true, But Bubba Watson, who I love to watch Bubba Watson play golf. I love to watch Dustin Johnson. I like to watch him play golf. But these guys now, it doesn't mean anything for them to miss that 4-foot putt. The least they get paid for a weekend is $50-something thousand on top of what they got to go to the league to start with. I mean, if you were going to tell me I could play 3 days a week for $55,000 and it didn't matter how I scored. Now, I'm not going to say that you don't want to win, but even the big names are not winning on live right now. Chip, James. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
There's no incentive for them to win financially. I mean, there's no incentive. And so, what Bryson is the exception to that. I mean, Bryson won because he has a warrior's mentality. He's a gladiator. I mean, can you name somebody else on LIV that
you have to ban them from the tournaments?
I mean,
that's the answer. Am I wrong?
What's that?
You have to ban them from the tournaments. It's the only way you're going to get these guys to change their, like, how do I get back on?
Koepka was close. Koepka came close. I mean, Koepka,
yeah, he came close, but like he's one of the more naturally gifted golfers.
And
where
he's
it
still
almost
there,
feels
but he
like,
just didn't. Look,
right? But like most of these dudes who got paid, like they have like you said, they have no incentive. But like you have to make it clear,
Johnson,
like
in many ways, I think because let's go back for those who've been watching golf a while. Dustin Johnson was quote the the John Rahm, the Scotty Scheffler of a few years ago.
Yeah.
Dustin was on it, and he went and he just kicked out, and you can see it in his interviews. I mean, he just.
What are they getting paid? Like $40 million?
Dustin got close to 100, I think.
Yeah, like I'm not saying
yeah.
He got paid ahead of time.
Yeah, and
so like he doesn't have to fill out any obligation.
It's guaranteed money. It's guaranteed
right.
money.
There has to be. And listen, give Liv the credit. They were like, we're going to destroy. What's this? Well, I'm sorry. Who's the shark?
Yasser Al-Ramayan.
Who was the guy who started it from the PGA that hated PGA?
Greg Norman.
Oh,
Greg Norman succeeded. Greg Norman fully succeeded. He went. He said, "I'm going to destroy the PGA, whatever it costs." And somebody basically walked up to him and was like, "I have an idea."
Well,
and he took it and he ran with it. And he said, "Give him all the money up front."
Well, here's the other issue.
The tournaments haven't even been exciting.
No,
I'll be honest. Like Scheffler's obviously dominated.
You can only watch them if you're on YouTube. I mean, they're not televised. I mean, they're on
CW.
They're on Peachtree TV.
But I'm even talking about all the tournament, just all the big
Well, they're
PGA
in
tournaments.
They're in Nashville this week. They're in Nashville this week. Nobody outside of Nashville knows it. Nobody knows where to watch it.
No, I saw it on ESPN by accident. That it existed.
You know, the big thing. I think we got James locked up here. The big thing for me though is the world golf rankings, which I understand in some ways the world golf rankings. Don't get me wrong, why they don't want to rank the live players, but you're now going to have an Olympics in which you have. Somebody was saying this the other day that out of the best golfers, and I'll just put it in quote terms, the best golfers, you're leaving out 5 to 6 or 7 of the best golfers in the world because their rankings are not on the World Golf Ranking Association. So I may be wrong in this, but it's something like Koepka, Johnson, there's several of them are not going to be on the Olympics or considered for the Olympics because of their world golf ranking.
Which is insane. It's insane. The Olympics should have nothing to do with that. That should be totally separate. Why would your golf ranking force the I don't know. It's like the NBA just picks the best players, right? In other sports, you just pick the best players. Wouldn't you just do that for golf?
Right, with the calendar? So you have to come up with a way to say, all right, if you're X number in the world rankings, for example, Canada gets X number of golfers in the top 60, and so Adam Hadwin in that last tournament, Nick Taylor came, is now ahead of him by a point in the world golf ranking, so he gets to go. I mean, the Olympics happens every 4 years. It could be 4 years from now they come up with a different criteria, But look,
they're going to have to, right? They're not going to have a choice.
I would think they'd have to, or we keep on hearing that some sort of an agreement with the PGA Tour and LIV is imminent. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, because they've been talking about it for a year now.
Yeah.
it was a done deal, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So
yeah,
that's right.
Well,
That's right.
I think we've seen what happens here, and I think look, it goes back. It goes back to saying I'm final word here is it goes back to what I've always heard when I was younger. I didn't understand it when I was younger. I understand it completely now. An older man told me one time we were talking about jobs, and he was talking about at a car lot, and it was talking about sales, and somebody was talking about pay. And they said, how much are you going to pay? He said, you're going to be on he said, we'll give you a few $100s draw. And he said, then you're going to be on commission, 100% commission. And, you'll make, 50% of whatever, the car sales. That's what. And a guy asked him, he said, well, I would rather have a salary than work on commission. He said, then I don't want you. And the guy said, why is that? He said, because if you're willing to take less and not work for more, I don't need you. And I think that saying has now become true in Live. They already got it. They don't need
it's
it.
Security.
It is.
We all just want security.
You want security. So, again, and it's also bad in the sense that Live was able to pay these players. I mean, still to this day, Tiger Woods in tournament earnings has not made as much as they paid Mickelson or Justin up front.
Yeah.
Now, think about that. That's just a horrendous kind of thought. But
yeah, I mean, we're also talking about years
outside earnings he has. But
that's because Tiger's.
But one last little thing: Nick Dunlap, kid out of Alabama, University of Alabama, won the first amateur to win a tournament this year. Has gone on to do pretty well. He went on. He took his card. He's almost up. I think he's somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million in earnings this year, and shooting right rail at the Travelers. So. Good for him. Take your shot and go. That's a good. I love to watch stuff like that. All right. Final word. We got a week before the debate. We got the draft. We got James maybe going to look for another zoo. You never know. So we'll start with Chip. Chip, final word.
And man, I'll say, just reiterate what I said towards the beginning of the show is I've never looked more forward to watching a Saturday Night Live skit. I mean, a presidential debate. And so I can't wait for next Thursday and look forward to talking about it next Friday.
It's going to be fun. James.
Well, I want to say this now because we brought it up, but Australia was talking smack about our swimming team. And I just want to make it super clear that Katie Ledecky's coming for blood.
There you go.
And the Olympics, I believe, start the 26th. Yeah, 27th, somewhere around there.
July, yep.
So we're coming for it, and Team USA basketball is also coming for you. I don't want to hear about your other teams.
Working it out. Mine is this. I am anxiously, like Chip, waiting for the debate next week. I want to see if Biden can make it through 90 seconds. I believe he does. I don't think it's going to be his best performance, but the press is going to be fawning all over it. That'll be my concern is going into it. But also, I just want to let you know that by the time we meet again on next Friday's Finest, thank God basketball is already over. Hockey will be over, and we will turn. And the College World Series, by the way, another SEC dominance, will be over. And now we will be able to talk about the real world life of college football and pro football coming up. That's where we're at, less than a week, less than 70 days from kickoff as we go forward. So, folks, for Chip, James, and I,